This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it's time for Avoid the Maze. And I have on a very interesting guest today. I'm so glad we had a few minutes before we went live to get some conversation going. His name is Nick Lagan, and I'm a little bit surprised, Nick, because when you popped up on the screen, I really thought you were like early 20s, and now I'm learning um,
No.
you've been there, and now you're on another venture in age and life. Um,
Yeah.
and one of the things I usually tell people that age is really just a number. We can do anything we want at any time. We just have to take the steps forward. So, what interested me about Nick when I was when we were matched together on podmatch.com, and podmatch.com is not a dating site, everybody. It is a site where you meet other podcasters, coaches, uh, people who are on a journey that may be similar to yours. And so when I read your bio, Nick, it was like, oh my gosh, this is somebody I really want to have on. So Nick comes from up north, and when I say up north, from Canada, it's one of the neighbors of the U.S. But
Mhm.
you're traveling in the United States right now, so give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I have been traveling the US in an RV for the past 5.5 months now, just over 5 months, something between 5 and 6 months. We started in Montreal, well, outside Montreal to, like I was telling you, the last place I lived in Canada was in the woods, log house on top of a mountain. And I developed 3 businesses when I was down there. That's all I did. I needed to just hide myself somewhere. I did my 9 to 5 and I just worked 100 hours, maybe more a week. That's all I did was develop my side hustles so that I could do it full time. 5.5 months ago, I quit my sales engineering job that I've been at for 12 years. So I left my high paying job to 100% concentrate on me and my businesses, I mean. And yeah, it's been 5.5 months. I grew 3 businesses, I have 5 full-time employees now, wrote my first book, and now my social media right now are just, I'm finding my groove and everything's exploding. So yeah, it's life is very, very interesting right now. It's when you have the balls to do what needs to get done, what your heart tells you should do, and not care about what other people think. It is amazing how it does not take long to realize that people are going to be put on your path to help you. You're going to be put on other people's path to help them. You're going to also start to realize that there is something greater than us all. Call it God, call it nature, call it the universe. Doesn't matter to me how you call it, but there is a force out there that is helping. If you are truly doing what your purpose is, the reason you were put on this earth, if you're living that and you're living it 100% and you're ready to risk it all, the universe conspires to help you. And this is what I'm seeing day in, day out for the past 3 years. So
So you said you've seen it for the last 3 years, but there must have been something in you when you were younger that said, I'm just not satisfied. Um, I just need to take this to the next step or to another step, finding that fork in the road.
I've always been this is one of the biggest problem that I have with today's society is our education system. I quit school. I was 15 years old, and I quit school because I thought I was stupid. The education system made me believe that I was stupid because I did not learn the way they wanted me to learn. I did not fit in that tiny box that says this is how somebody needs to behave. I'm I have ADHD, never taken medication for it because through exercise and meditation, not only do I control it, but it's a superpower for me. I'm capable of working 10 hours in a row, no problem. My girlfriend will just come by, give me a coffee, give me like refill my tea, and I'm just extremely focused. So the point is that I realized this a long time ago, that I was not like other people, but unfortunately, I grew up without a father. I didn't have a strong male character to teach me what it meant to be a man. So I did not understand this. So I did, from 14 to 21, I sold drugs. All I did is party. I was addicted to drugs. I was selling them to support my habits, until one day I decided to do something and really I faced my potential in my early 20s to say, is this it for you, bro? Are you going to continue down that? Exactly like you said, there was a fork in the street, in the road, and it's really, continue doing what you're doing. You're just going to go deeper, or remove everything from your life, start from zero, and concentrate 100% on what your heart is telling you. That's 20 years ago, and I've been living my life 100 miles per hour ever since then. But it's really that, like, I've known since I was about 14 years old that I wasn't normal. I don't have a regular mentality. I don't think like the average person does, and it explains why I don't have a lot of friends. I don't get along with a lot of people in that extent, because I'm too demanding. Like, I'm extremely demanding of myself, but I'm extremely demanding of the people around me as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but
It
I'm
does. And, you know, there was another reason that I was drawn to your bio. My youngest son, who is 32, um, at the age of 6, after living this very so-called normal life, we got a diagnosis that he was on the autism spectrum.
so
So
he's brilliant. So he's absolutely brilliant.
you got
Yeah.
it. You
Yep.
got it.
Yeah.
But, you know, everybody told us, well, this is how you have to treat him. This is how you have to
Nope.
educate him. And, you know, we went along with about this much,
Yeah.
but then we said, no, what do you love? What
Bang.
really fuels your fire? You know, he made it all the way through high school. He did go to college, but he struggled for the same reasons I can hear you did, is
Yeah.
that nobody understood
No.
how he was learning. And he's a sponge. But when you make him do trivial things, he just can't do them. And I've seen that now that he's in the business world, and he just moved, not only out of our home, but he moved out of state, 1,000 miles away. And he's learning that, hey, I'm not going to do this like everybody else.
Yep.
And he told the company he's working for, and they said, show us how you're going to do it. So he's very lucky that he found the job that he loves, and people who understand that, you know what, he's going to get the job done, but he's going to get it done his way.
I don't think he's lucky. That's not a word you should use.
Okay.
I think he's blessed. I don't believe in luck. I
Okay.
think he's blessed. For one, he's blessed to have had parents that decided not to listen to what the specialist says. Because if, you know, I'm sure that I can have a conversation with your son, and we're gonna connect right away, just because we do not learn. I get very emotional about this, because this is something that really pisses me off. I was led to believe I was stupid. And now today I can look at it and say this with the, it's going to sound very cocky what I'm going to say, but I am smarter than 99.9% of people out there. And all the things that made me believe that I was stupid are all the reasons why I'm smarter than the average person. The same thing is true about your son. It's not because we don't learn in a way where somebody talks to me. If you tell me what I'm supposed to learn, let me do the research. I'll do the research. I'll do everything I need to do. Tell me what I'm supposed to do by the end of something. Tell me what the goal is. I'll figure out how to get there. I don't need you to tell me. I'll do it faster, better than you can ever teach me, either way. And I'm sure your son is exactly the same as that.
You are exactly.
Yeah.
It is true. And I found that for myself, as when he went away to college, my thought was, I was always told in school almost the same thing. I wasn't told I was stupid, but I was told, you're just not grasping it,
Yep.
you know, and, you know, you should be capable of getting A's, but you're getting C's and B's. And I would say, but I don't understand the practicality of this.
Yeah.
And if
Exactly.
I don't understand that,
yep.
But when I went back to school and got my master's, I did it online for one major reason, so that I was given a goal each week, and I had to find a way to get to that goal. Um, and that's a very interesting thing that you talk about with education, because most of our schools, they just go by the book. And
Yep.
if you don't fit, you don't fit. So when you left school at 15, I'm going to go back to that time.
Sure.
How did your mother react? Because I'm sure as a parent, she wanted to see her son succeed, and maybe this didn't look like it.
I have a love and hate relationship with my mother. If I can be quite frank with you, I have very strong beliefs when it comes to what a man is and what a man should be. Like I believe in gender roles. I believe there's things I do better than a woman and vice versa. I'm with a more traditional, my girlfriend is more traditional. I'm a more traditional man when it comes to, I believe a man's a provider. I believe a man's is a protector. I believe that a woman is better at taking care of a family. Look at any great family out there. It's always held together by a woman. Always. If there's a great family, it is a woman that is the glue to that family, because it makes sense. They're more compassionate, they're
Right.
more empathic, they care more. Why do you think 70% of people in the medical field right now, 86% to be quite exact, but more than 70% of students in medical school right now are women? Why?
Wow.
They care more. I'd much rather have a woman doctor than a man doctor, because chances are she's going to empathize with me more. But the same thing is true for engineers, right? 70% to 80% of engineering are guys, because guys like things, women like people. It's that simple. So unfortunately, I don't have the greatest of relationship with my mother. So I don't know why she let me do what I did when I was 15. I never really had, I'm not able to speak about those things
Sure.
with my mother, because she has a victim mentality. So as soon as I approached what happened, automatically she goes on the defensive saying, oh, but I didn't know better and blah, blah, blah. So I don't have an exact answer for you, but what I can tell you is that she wasn't able to control me. Even if she wanted to, there's nothing she could do about it. Like if my mind is set on something, there's not one person on this planet that can control what I'm gonna do except for me. Um,
Well, and I think if we all understood that, okay,
yep,
because that's for all of us, okay, when we try to do what everybody else wants us to do,
yep,
we become puppets. And
absolutely.
uh, when I started podcasting and blogging, that was the day that I realized it's okay to be a nice person. It's okay to help other people. But when you put yourself out of the picture doing that all the time, I mean, you don't even have to be here anymore. And I woke up that with that one morning and I just said, I don't mind helping people, but the first person I have to help is myself today. And that's not
Yep.
being selfish, because when you
No,
help
it is.
yourself,
It is being selfish, but there's nothing wrong with being selfish. This is the problematic, is that we associate selfishness with something that's egotistical, that's something that's narcissistic. It's not. If How do you become the best parent? By taking care of yourself, leading by example, showing your kids what a great parent is. If you haven't worked on yourself prior to having children, what are you going to teach them?
right?
It always starts with the self. Any relationship today, when I first met my girlfriend 3 4 years ago, I was still messing around, I was still having fun with women, I did not necessarily want to settle down. She had the values to tell me, you know what, Nick, I'm not ready, this is not what I want. Have a good life, this is not what I want. She had enough respect for herself because she knew who she was, she knew what she stood for. I still didn't. At that point there was still some things I needed to deal with, and that's okay, but it starts with me. A year after that, after spending a year in the woods by myself, I ran into her again. I saw her at a stop sign when I was in the city, and I contacted her again. But this is my point. Until I had to do the work on myself, I wasn't ready for what she was asking for. I wasn't ready to be in a long-term relationship with someone because I have work to do on myself. And it all is that selfish? No, because
No,
if you live, the greatest gift that you can give others is to be your true, authentic self. And without doing the work, how the hell are you supposed to know who you are if you've never done the introspection, if you have never done the inner work? that's needed, that's so-called selfish nowadays, but that's where it starts. And the greatest gift I can give you, I can give the world, is be myself 100% of the time, so that I can lead by example, and hopefully I can inspire others to do the same.
That is, wow. So you've written a
Yeah,
book.
sorry, I go on rant sometimes.
No,
I
I
just
love
like
it. I love
blah,
it.
blah, 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 I just start ranting.
So tell us a little bit about writing a book, because it seems like everybody either has written one or wants to write one.
Yep.
I'm one of those two that have thought about it, but then I just get caught up, and I'm pretty happy doing my blogs. But
Yep.
what was it about writing a book that was important for you?
Unlike, well, if we forget the past 5 months, I normally read about 30 books a year, give or take. Like, I spend normally a couple hours every morning, because I get up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I like to. This is where I'm creative. This is where my mind is really working. So I tend to like to read. I just educate myself on different subjects. And I think that it's important. It's a skill that I wasn't taught as a kid. Nobody taught me that the importance of reading. And not, I don't read novels. I don't read that type of stuff. I love to read about psychology. I love to read about men's psychology, especially because those are the guys that I want to help. So I need to understand their mind. And there's such values in those type of books. But what I find about a lot of the books today is it's too, like, most subject today, we're over specialized. We always, if you look at every single job, if you look at everything in life from A to Z, everything is siloed now. We're always looking for specialists in a certain field, but there's no more jack of all trade. There's no more people that have more of a holistic view, that learn how to step back and start looking at, oh shit, hold on, this and this, how do they not see the connection between them? Like, one of my favorite writer is Graham Hancock. I don't know if you ever read some of his stuff.
No.
He's brilliant. He talks a lot about the past, and he tends to um have a very holistic view of the past, and he takes what we take for granted, like, let's say, the pyramids in Egypt, or um um subject like Native Americans in North America, when they actually got here. So he takes really a very holistic view. He backs out, and he's like, okay, hold on, there was a comet that hit the planet at this time, and funny enough, all of those little things started happening afterwards, but nobody puts it together, because they're so focused on tiny little portions of history. That's my point. Like, this is the type of person that I am, and this is what the book was about, because I've been thinking about writing it for 5 to 10 years. So when I started writing it, I think I wrote the whole book in about a month and a half. And I would write every morning a couple hours. I would just write. But it's really about a holistic view for men that are between 35 to 45, like the what we call the midlife crisis nowadays, like the joke that we made out of it. But it's about to explain to those men that it is normal between 35 and 45 to face a crisis. Because in my head, there's three. I this is something that people love when I say this, and I'm being very sarcastic right now, but I think that depression exists, but I think that most of the people that are depressed is because they lack purpose. And men, to me, men are not depressed. Men lack purpose. Men are meant to have a reason to live, because what's the point of living if your life has no meaning? I
Right.
understand why somebody is depressed if every day they get up and they're like, man, what am I supposed to do today? I'll never be depressed in my life, because I've always had purpose. I've always made sure that I had purpose. But it comes back to what you were saying earlier. You need to know who you are in order to find that purpose first, connect with yourself first. And this is the first section of my book, is literally, who are you? Because that's what it comes down to. So it's all about taking everything that I've learned over the past 10 years, everything that I connected between the mind, the body, and the soul, and put it in a book in a way where you can somewhat read it and say, okay, yeah, I should do those things. Maybe I should look into this. It's just a nice flow about how do you go from where you are today to actually finding what your purpose is at the age of 35 to 45, because it's not the same as in a man's life. To me, there's three purpose. The first one is for a boy to become a man. But this unfortunately is lacking today because men are not men anymore, and they're not teaching their sons the rites of passages that have been around for thousands of years. We've lost that. But that's your first purpose as a boy, is to become a man. Then a man becomes a good man. But this is normally done between 18 to 28, but mostly it hits men at 28 years old. They start realizing that they're not going to be 20 anymore. The reflection that they see in the mirror is not the way they feel inside. Like they literally scrap their 20s partying and continuing to act like they were teenagers, and now that they are at 28, they face a realization that, oh shit, maybe I need to step up my game here. So a good man's purpose is to take care of his family, is to make sure that he becomes a protector, he becomes a provider, he has courage, he learns what temperance is, he learns self-control, and he has faith in himself, others, and the universe, God, nature. But this is the second purpose of a man, is to become selfless, to put all of his energy towards his wife, his kids, his family, even if it's towards himself, but in a selfless way, that when he does get a family, he's ready to take care of them. He's ready to take the role of a man within that family. And 35 to 45, the midlife crisis, is when a man he becomes selfish. He starts thinking about himself and what he was meant to do on this earth. Now he has experience, he has money, he's taking care of his family's taken care of, but it's time to take care of his own psyche. It's time to take care of himself and what his real goal, what's his real purpose, what's his contribution to this world, what is the mark that he's going to leave behind, what are people going to talk about at your funerals. That's what happens at. But what's funny is that it comes back to what you were saying, because in order to become selfless, you become selfish. So when you're younger, you're selfless, you take care of your family, then you become selfish to work on you so that you can be the best selfless person that you can become. So it's always just stages in order to lead, in order to just give yourself 100% to your purpose, to the people around you, to the world. Because one man can't change the world, one woman can change the world. If you impact the life of 10 people, they impact the life of 10 people, that's 100 people. They impact 10 people, that's 1,000. Another 10, that's 100,000. We don't realize how much impact we actually are capable of having just by being ourselves, just by leading by example, just by as Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world.
And it's so important. It's more than just, Gandhi's words. It's words that we have to take, and feel them. When I do these podcasts, the interesting part that I'm finding, it doesn't make any difference what part of the world somebody has come from. Excuse me. It doesn't make any difference what their religion is. It doesn't make any difference what their sexual orientation is. But those of us who woke up at some point and said, there's got to be more than everything I'm reading in the book, the news I'm listening to on TV. I've got to go outside. I got to open up my eyes. And a couple of years ago, I was recovering from knee surgery, and my doctor said to me, I need you to go out walking every day. Nice. And my first reaction was, oh, my knee hurts. I can't do it. But the first day I did it, I walked outside. I got down the length of my driveway. And all of a sudden, I could feel the driveway under my feet. I'd never experienced that before. And I remember standing there for quite a while. My husband came out and he said, are you okay? I said, do you know what it feels like here? And he goes, what are you talking about? I said, come and stand next to me. But he wasn't ready to feel.
Yep.
And he couldn't feel it. And I said, that's okay. But I explained to him, I could feel my feet on the asphalt. It wasn't hot, but I still felt that it was spongy.
Were you shoeless?
No. I had my shoes on. Okay. And it was just incredible And I remember coming back into the house and thinking to myself, I must be crazy. How
Yeah,
could you
of
have
course you
thought?
are. Of
Yeah,
course you
yeah.
are. But that's okay to be, it's good to be crazy.
Well, and then I started getting my husband walking with me. And it was interesting the sensations we both had walking side by side. He saw something ahead of him, which was totally different from what I was seeing. And our dialogue became different. It wasn't, hey, I saw this. Why didn't you? It was, I saw this beautiful reflection. And then he'd tell me what that meant to him. And then I could tell him, I saw these beautiful flowers. And we then realized it's okay to be different, but we can bring that together. It sounds like that's what you provide, and especially to the men that you work with, by letting them know, you know, there's really no right or wrong. You've got to start balancing it. That's all.
It's more, well, before I go into this, I would say try to do grounding instead of walk. I do this all the time. It drives my girlfriend absolutely nuts, but I love to walk around without shoes on because there is negative, it's not energy as in spirit energy, but there is negative energy as in we're like a battery, right? We have positive and negative energy, and one of the only ways to discharge your negative energy is to send it, like the same way a current works. Your plug that you're plugging your laptop in is always grounded in order to send the negative energy down to the earth. The same thing is true for you, so try to walk without shoes on. If you think you're getting a connection right now by walking, start walking without shoes on especially natural surfaces, not asphalt, but dirt, grass. You'll see how you connect with this is really messed up how it plays with your head, but just that will change the way that you feel about those walks. It's absolutely amazing to be able to connect with the earth that's natural, because if you look at running shoes, they're all made out of rubber, and it's one of the worst thing that we can use because it blocks us from discharging that negative energy that we have in our body because it's rubber. Same thing for tires on a car. You can get struck by lightning, you're not going to get electrocuted because it's not grounded, so the car just absorbs it. But it's the same way for your shoes. Your shoes prevent you from releasing that negative energy into the ground. And people say, and I don't know if it's true or not, I've experienced it personally, but I don't know that the scientific data behind it, but there is something extremely spiritual about being able to connect with the earth in a way that is natural, that is not forced. Because something as simple as walking, we all do this to a certain extent, but try to do it without shoes on and just connect with the earth. If you believe in that stuff, you'll see this will the effect that it's going to have on your brain is absolutely astounding.
So you told me at the beginning that you are now traveling around the
Yep.
United States. You're going down
Mhm.
to Mexico. I'm assuming this traveling was um, thought about in advance. Is that something that you just got in your car and started driving?
10 years ago. 10 years ago, I started thinking about it. I had gone down to I had to gone down to South America. I was in Costa Rica. I wanted to move down there, but I went down there and I met my ex-wife. She lived in Toronto, so I went back and I lived there for a few years. But the idea started about 10 years ago. And when COVID happened in Canada, there was massive lockdowns in Canada. We weren't allowed to do anything anymore. And I decided about 3 years ago that it's not true that my government's going to tell me what I can and cannot do. I'm not a child. I don't need them to tell me. I take extremely good care of myself. I don't need somebody to tell me what I need and what I should and shouldn't do. So I can't control. I'm very good at sitting down and saying, okay, what do you control? I don't control what they do. I don't control what people think. But I said, what do I control? I control that I don't want to be here anymore. What do I need to do? I needed to become independent financially. So I started building business. I figured out what I wanted to do. I started building businesses, and I knew that eventually I would leave Canada. I didn't know how. The matter of doing it didn't matter. But when my girlfriend moved in with me, when I because we've been together for about 2 years now. Like we met, we were together for about a year ish. We weren't dealing with each other for about a year. Now it's 2 years straight. Yeah, something like that. And we just had the idea, let's get an RV, let's start renting the house, and let's just leave because we don't want to live in Canada anymore. We don't like where the country's headed. So we decided, let's figure out if there's a place in the US that we'd like to live in. Up to now, we love Tennessee. Tennessee was incredible. Favorite place right now in the US, Tennessee. Tucson, if you've never been to Tucson, Tucson is one of the most beautiful places I've seen in my life. Like not just in North America, but the mountains here, like it's desert. We have cactuses that are 20, 30 feet tall. As a Canadian, I've never seen that before. Then you have palm trees right next to it, and the mountains are surrounding Tucson. It's beautiful down here. But we're just looking for a place to see if we can call home. That's why we're traveling.
And that's wonderful.
Yep.
Not all of us have that ability, but even if you can't travel the whole United States or the whole northern continent, you can travel outside of your little space,
You
whether it
have to.
means going into the next community, looking around, do you really belong where you've been living all these years? And it's funny that, you mentioned that because my husband said he was never going to leave the Cleveland area. Never, never, never. And I said, don't say never.
Yep.
And now that, our two sons don't live in Ohio with us, we're looking as well. We're looking
Yep.
to see, what areas we've been to that maybe really are calling our name. And we don't know if it's going to happen, but I will tell you the journey of looking just opens our eyes more and we learn more and more. And that's what I'm hoping that our listeners are hearing today, that even though a lot of your message is for men, it still pertains to women. We have to figure out who we are. And yes, we may be nurturers, but it doesn't mean that we have to give up our lives to nurture everybody who comes into our circle. And I did that for the first 50 years of my life. And that's when I sort of like broke down and said, I like helping people, but I haven't helped myself. I have a cut on my finger and I haven't even put the Band-Aid on yet.
This is always, I'm somebody that has a very big heart. I help people all the time. And although I probably get burned 90% of the time, I'll never stop trying. I always I always believe in the good nature of people. I always believe that if somebody's given a chance that nobody else is ready to give him, that he's going to raise to the equation, because that's what I did. I didn't get up one day and starting my journey by myself. There are certain people that have believed in me to a point where they gave me a chance and they saw something in me I've never seen before. I did not know was there. But to me, it's just about knowing how to protect yourself doing it, because this is one thing that's taken me a very long time. Is now I'm not disappointed that much in people when they don't raise to the equation. I'm just like, you know what, that says I cut the link right there, it's fine. I did what I could. He doesn't want to help. I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make him drink, right? So, but it is about protecting yourself. I think this is the number one thing, is being able to kind of distance yourself from the people that don't deserve your help, because this is harsh for most people to know, but I have no pity for that anymore. If I want to help you and you don't want to help yourself, like I'll give you an example. Around Christmas, we were in Austin, Texas. We stayed there for a little while, and I was at the gym, and there was this young guy, because I work out 6 times a week, 2 hours a day. Like, this is my one of my religions, if you will. This is something I will
Sure.
never change. It's been like that for 20 years. So I'm at the gym, and um, there's this guy. He's early 20s, maybe 19 to 21, somewhere in there. And it was the 24th. Yeah, it was the 24th of December. So we're at the gym, we get out, my girlfriend's there, and she knows the look. Like he said something to me. I don't remember exactly what he said, but then I stop. She looks at me, she's like, yeah, that's fine. Because I'm the type that if I see somebody that needs help, I'm going to stop to help them. If I see a dog that seems to be homeless, we're getting a new dog. Like I'm the type of person that's like that. She knows me very well, and she's not surprised if I do these type of things anymore. But I looked at the guy and I'm like, so who are you spending the Christmas with? He's like, nobody. I'm here alone. I just got here last week. My family's all in close to Virginia, so no, in Georgia. Sorry. So I'm like, well, man, if you want, we're not doing anything special, but we're more happy than to have you. Turns out that the guy was homeless, lived in his car. He was working at the gym to try because he just got there with no plans. I tried to help him for 2 weeks. I would include him in my podcast. He came with me recording. He was holding the camera for a lot of my stuff. I was giving him money, but turns out he's an addict. Turns out he was addicted to pills. So I confronted him because I let him stay at my place. Like he was staying in an RV on the couch. And I told him, I'm like, bro, this is not acceptable. If there's one thing I don't encourage is drug addicts, and there's no way that I'm going to give you money to feed your habits. Not going to happen. And he ended up losing his job at the gym that I met him because he was getting high at work. So I confronted him and I'm like, bro, we did some research. Here are some programs that can fit that are free. They're offered by the state. We already talked to them. They would take you. It's just a matter of you calling them. And the job that I'm having you do right now will be there when you leave. When you come back, I will have you follow me in the country. We'll figure it out so that you can become my private videographer and we're going to create a bunch of content together. Didn't want to do it, but I have no pity for that. Like at that point, if he would have said yes, I would have taken care of him until he didn't need me anymore. But because he's like, I don't have a problem, I don't want to help. Like he got frustrated with me. I'm like, you know what, bro, just leave. I don't accept this. So this is where I think I've learned over the past years is as much as I'm going to help people, there's a line drawn in the sand that I say no more. When before I would have caved in, I would have tried to help and help and help and help and help. Because I did, as you said, he could have literally be cutting me with a knife. Like physically, he's cutting me. I'm just bleeding out.
Right.
I'm just giving him everything that I got, but I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding. And I would have said, just, you know what? This is my burden to carry. It's not. It's not your burden to carry. If somebody doesn't want to help themselves, they can suffer. Because I strongly believe that hitting rock bottom is exactly what he needs. That guy needs to suffer. He needs to be in a situation where he's facing his demons face to face and say, you know what? You're an asshole. You need to change. You're not good for yourself. You're not good. You're toxic to yourself, to the people around you. And this is
Right.
why you're in the situation that you're in. He needs to face that, and I can't help him. But you know what? That was 2 months ago. He could call me up right now and say, bro, I finally heard what you had to say. Can you help me out? I'd pick up the phone and I'd help him out. We're not in the same state anymore, but I'd find a way to help him. But he needs to suffer. Unlike before, where I would have tried to avoid him suffer and take the sufferance myself so he doesn't have to go through it. Now I will be the first one to tell you, once you hit rock bottom, bro, once there's nothing more for you to do except admit that you're full of shit, contact me and I'll help you with everything that I got. I'll be there for you.
Well, that's the tough love that
Oh
many
yeah.
of us have been taught. And it sounds absolutely horrific when it's happening. But I will tell
Yeah.
you, I've seen how well it works, because you have to be willing to take that step. Okay. Somebody can push you to the starting line, but if you don't step forward, you're not going to win the race. You're not going to even run the race. So, well, Nick, tell me and our listeners how they can find you, the name of your book, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who could get some good information if they read it.
So the book is called Purpose. It can be found on Amazon. The audiobook is all recorded. I'm just waiting for it to be approved by Amazon, but it's just a matter of time. Like I uploaded it last week. So within the next couple of weeks, the audiobook, the soft cover, and the ebook, just look for Purpose Nico Lagan and you'll find it. You can find me on YouTube at Nico Lagan. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Real Nico Lagan. I post a lot. Like I post like 3-4 times a day. So I'm very avid on social media. So I'm not that hard to find. But be ready for some information you might not like to hear. I'm just saying.
Well, for those of us who really need to make changes,
Yep.
we are going to hear things that we don't like.
You have to.
And it's time to face it. I just took a course this past summer in positive intelligence, and the things that I learned about myself, nobody had to tell me. But when all of a sudden it was there, I started making some better decisions, because why was I saying yes when I should say no? And why was I saying no when I should say yes? And when I say should, for me to be the best authentic self I could be. So I know we're going to learn a lot from you. I'm suggesting to our listeners, they follow your podcast as well. All that will be in the show notes. And Nico, it's been so engaging this morning. I appreciate everything that you shared with us. Best of travels with your girlfriend. I think that's exciting. And we'll have to have you back on, because I'm sure there's more that we want to learn.
I never shut up, so I'm always, I just go on and on and on. So anytime you want, just let me know, and I'll always make the time for what matters.
Very good. Have
Thanks
a
for
great
having
day.
me on. Yep, same to you. Thanks for
Take
having me
care.
on.
Sure. Bye-bye now.